Hey everyone, hope you're doing good. Before I begin this video and you'd like to use OCD Recovery's coaching services, please reach out to Phil at ocdrecovery.com and we'll get back to you as quick as he can. So today guys, I just wanted to do a quick video about a particular recovery misconception. And one of the main misconceptions when it does come to recovery is that recovery means certainty. Recovery means that whatever my core fear is, I'm going to get that absolute 100% certainty and verification that that's not true. And this isn't true. Recovery doesn't necessarily mean certainty. Now, let me explain. So, for example, if you have contamination OCD and you're scared that you're going to get a disease by touching something, even when you recover, right, there's no guarantee that that isn't going to happen, you know. Recovering from OCD doesn't necessarily mean that the core fear isn't going to happen. Another example, maybe you have hit and run OCD, right? Recovering from hit and run OCD with unconditional self and life acceptance doesn't mean that you aren't ever going to face that situation in your life. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get that certainty that that's never going to happen. Also, being in a wrong relationship, you know, recovering from ROCD doesn't mean that you're going to be certain about the partner that you're with. So we have to think about, look, what am I really aiming for when it comes to recovery, right? And you know, with that in mind, you might think, what's the point? What's the point in putting in the work for recovery if I'm not going to get that certainty on the feared scenario? But the point of recovery is to become rational, and it's to bring down the extreme emotions associated with the worst case scenario. Because we're not going to get certainty, the only thing that we can do is cushion the blow of the worst case scenario if that was to happen, right? And then that makes us live more efficiently. It makes us less hyper aware of the way that we feel. It makes us less scared of sensations and emotions. It makes us less scared of core fears from happening. And then we just sort of reach that baseline level of peace where we're not chasing anything. And even if that worst case scenario was true, then it wouldn't be the end of the world. But we're not trying to get certainty or chase that feeling on whether it happens, you know. So that's very, very important when it comes to OCD recovery. You got to think, I'm not recovering to get certainty. I'm not recovering to get this right feeling. I'm recovering to bring down the worst case scenarios and have that unconditional self and life acceptance. Because, you know, if you're recovering to get certainty, that's conditional life acceptance. You know, I can only accept my core fears on the basis that I get certainty. No, OCD is going to have an absolute field day there, right? So you do need to be really careful of that when it comes to putting in the recovery work, you know, doing your disputing, doing your reading. What trajectory am I going in here? Is it to get certainty? Is it to try and chase that feeling? Or is it to become more rational about the worst case scenario? And it's got to be the latter. Otherwise, you know, you're going to be chasing something that doesn't exist. All right. And, you know, when you do recover, so those feelings or whatever it might be, maybe you've got HOCD and you've got a fear of being homosexual, maybe you've got ROCD and you've got a fear of being in a wrong relationship, right? When you do recover from that, there's no internal chasing. So those feelings, they tend to naturally flow at their own accord, right? There's no rhyme or reason. It's like with me recovering from HOCD now, you know, I'm not chasing that certainty, but of course I'll have moments where, you know, my mind might wander, or I'm, you know, dating somebody, having intimacy, and, you know, your mind will go towards that place, right? So with recovery, that those emotions, those sensations, they happen at their own accord. There's no rhyme or reason, and there's no trying to bolt down or chase them. And you got to remember as well, in those particular situations anyway, you know, especially HOCD, ROCD, a lot of the time those feelings aren't going to be there anyway, because you're not walking around all day like being in love with your partner, right? It's just not the case, because sometimes you're at work, sometimes there's other things, whatever. So when you reach recovery, it's just a baseline level of calm with feelings just flowing naturally from one to the other, and there's no you know, set schedule about how they arise. Okay, and that's very much what we want to get to. We want to get to that internal surrender where we just let things flow naturally without trying to manipulate or solve, and that's really, really crucial. But yeah, just want to highlight, you know, even when we do recover, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is certain, all right? And we have to be very careful of that. We live in a very uncertain world. You know, there's so many variables that we're exposed to as a human being, right? You know, when I walk out the door, I'm exposed to so many different things. I could get hit by a car, I could see my neighbour, a bird could poo on me, you know, I could get rained, all these different things, and we can never rule it out, right? We can never say never to anything. And of course, OCD is going to get in between that no man's land that you don't want to be in. So that is why you have to cushion the blow of the worst case scenario, getting more comfortable with that. And that's when we can get to that natural baseline level of calm, with these feelings then flowing naturally after that.